For many years now, data storage and security analysts have been alerting anyone who would listen about the impacts of the exponential growth of stored data. For example, Gartner published its first market guide for file analysis in 2014, with findings and recommendations that included: 1, the growth of stored unstructured data has costs and risks. 2, unstructured data can contain sensitive and personal information that needs to be secured or in many cases deleted. 3, much of the data stored by organizations is dark data, meaning that no one knows the data's value or risk. And 4, besides dark data, we learned other terms like R.O.T, which is redundant, outdated, and trivial data that is identified as one of the first focus areas for cleaning up storage. I've used the term unstructured data a couple of times, so perhaps I should give some definitions and examples for clarification. According to multiple analysts, about 20% of all stored data is considered structured data. Structured data is record-based data that fits in fixed fields of a database. Examples of structured data are personal information such as names, dates, addresses, and credit card numbers, but it can also be a variety of other records such as product IDs or SKU numbers. The remaining 80% is unstructured data. This is file-based data that doesn't reside in the database and cannot be processed and analyzed using conventional methods and tools. Most common examples of unstructured data include word processing files, spreadsheets, presentations, PDFs, media files, CAD files, virtual images, and many others. When it comes to managing data growth, many organizations look for easy ways to reduce the amount of data being stored. They tend to focus on the R.O.T, but as they are working in the network file system, focusing on identifying and removing the R.O.T, they could be doing so much more, namely taking needed corrective measures. Forward-thinking organizations will address R.O.T and more. By focusing on redundant, outdated, and trivial data, you're focusing on the data itself. By also focusing on misplaced, orphaned, risky, and exposed data, you focus on identity or user access and ownership of data based on identity and the file system permissions assigned to the data. When you focus on R.O.T and more, you obtain the information you need to protect the sensitive, unstructured data stored on the network. Now, when we think of sensitive data, we primarily think of health records, financial information, and other personal identifiable information that tend to be stored as structured data in a database. Organizations take great measures to protect sensitive structured data from unauthorized access, but unstructured data can be sensitive data, and many organizations seem to forget this. Personal identifiable information can be part of spreadsheets or word processing files, so organizations are legally required to protect this information from unauthorized access. Furthermore, sensitive data needing protected can also be the intellectual assets of an organization that must be protected for the financial viability of the organization. Sales forecasts, financial records, legal documents, and source code are all examples of unstructured data that need to be protected from unauthorized access or loss. So our approach is to not only address the R.O.T, but to address R.O.T and more. In this animation, we have a simple diagram of a network file system with its folders and files inside. The purpose, importance, and vulnerability of these files covers the entire spectrum. You've heard the term R.O.T, which stands for redundant, outdated, and trivial files. Redundant files are duplicate files that need to be identified and removed. Think of the storage cost savings to an organization if duplicate media or duplicate CAD files were identified and removed. Aged files are those files that no longer have value. Why is an organization storing sales forecasts for Q1 2013? These should be deleted. Trivial files include temp files that applications create and keep in the file system. Over time and application updates, servers can be storing gigabytes of these temp files. But forward-thinking organizations realize that there are more data issues that need to be addressed, or specifically misplaced, orphaned, risky, and exposed data. Misplaced means files that need to reside somewhere else. Maybe that sales forecast should be moved from an open share that anyone can access to a network folder with more secure access permissions. Orphaned means that the files or folders belong to a user that no longer works for the organization. What's the point of storing and backing up a home folder for a user that left years ago? Risky means files that are a risk for the organization to be keeping. Perhaps the organization was in talks with another organization for a merger. Maybe they have financial files stored. If the merger doesn't take place, is there a risk of continuing to store these financial files? What would happen if there was a data breach? And exposed means access to files. What could happen if an internal user were able to find access to personal information on a file share that only HR people are supposed to be able to access? Looking at another aspect of exposure, what happens when a user who is authorized based on his role in the company cannot access the files he needs? So we begin to address R.O.T and M.O.R.E with Micro Focus File Reporter, which identifies these files through reports and analytics. A network administrator uses File Reporter to generate reports or conduct analytics on the network file system, including files stored in the Microsoft 365 cloud, where information is presented based on user identity, or what a user can access, the data itself, what is being stored, when it was last accessed, where duplicate versions reside, and how secure the file is, who can access it, is the organization at risk where it is stored. Then working with someone in the department who knows the value of the data, called a data owner, the IT worker and data owner for the department review the reports and analytics and then determine what actions need to be taken. So File Reporter reduces both risk and the data footprint of an organization by enabling organizations to identify problems and make corrections, specifically by providing unstructured data insight based on identity, data, and permissions, reviewing reports and analytics with someone familiar with the data owner, and working together to make needed corrections. Micro Focus File Reporter is the means of collecting information about network stored unstructured data. It does this through reports and graphical analytics tools. These reports and analytics can then be used by themselves or consumed by other products in addressing issues that need to be corrected. A companion product to File Reporter is Micro Focus File Dynamics. File Dynamics is a data management action engine that can address issues that File Reporter has exposed by correcting them through policies. File Dynamics can then continue to protect and manage your unstructured data's life cycle, including automatically disposing of it when it is time to do so through automated policies.